Hello everyone, this is Jonathan Little, and I just finished playing Day 1A of the European Poker Tour event in Barcelona. It was a 5,300 euro event, and it was a lot of fun. But today I wanted to tell you a little bit about my trip so far. I'm going to be experimenting with telling you guys pretty much what has happened on a few of my trips, and if you guys like this kind of content, let me know. If you think it's dumb, let me know that too, and I'll either I'll make more of it or less of it, depending on if you like it or not. So my trip actually started before I even got on the airplane to go to Barcelona. I took my time all day the day before that I was going to go fly. I packed everything like I thought I was supposed to. I got a lot of work done. And then I got to the airport and realized, oh my God, I don't have my passport. As soon as I went to the little check-in desk, I got sick to my stomach because I knew for a fact that I did not pack it. I keep it in a special place in my apartment where I pretty much know where it's at all the time, and it completely slipped my mind. I was so tilted. And that would normally not be an issue because normally the traffic only takes around 30 minutes to get from my apartment to the airport, but on this particular day, for some reason, it took about an hour and a half, which was way longer than it normally would. And I usually leave about 3 hours early, which I'm probably way more obsessive than most people when it comes to getting to the airport on time and never missing flights. I actually never missed a flight in my whole life, which is unheard of in the poker world. Almost everyone misses flights all the time. So anyways, I recognized I was not going to have enough time to go back home, get the passport, and then come back. So unfortunately, I had to reschedule for the next day. And then my initial flight was scheduled to leave at 4 and get me to where I was going to be making my transfer at about 6, but on the next day I was going to leave at 11 a.m. and then still make the same transfer at 6. So I ended up leaving way early the next day, but it actually was sort of a blessing in disguise because I had a really enjoyable evening with my fiance Amy. We got to have dinner together and relax, and I really had no agenda, which is sort of abnormal for me because I do a lot of work. I try to produce a lot of good content for you guys, and I also just try to study a lot of poker, and on that day I made a point to do nothing. I went home, had a glass of wine, I relaxed, and took it easy. It was a nice change of pace. If I'm sweating, I apologize. It's hot in this apartment. I'm going to turn on the air conditioner as soon as we're done with this video. So I have all my notes on my iPad, or on my iPhone for what I did. The next day, actually that night when I was there with Amy, the fire alarm went off in the middle of the night. And that has never happened since we moved in. And it was sort of interesting that I was there to fix it. Normally, she would have lost her mind in the middle of the night. But instead, I was there to take care of everything, and it worked out pretty nice. So the thing I learned from that is that I need to listen to my fiance more. She actually has printed me out sort of like a checklist of things I have to make sure I pack anytime I go on a trip. And in my mind, I'm a traveling professional. I don't forget stuff. And if I do forget stuff, it is because some anomaly happened. But I've learned, use her checklist. Her checklist does include the passport. And don't make that same mistake in the future. So the next day, my flight was great. I had no problems. Whenever I got off my flight in Barcelona, I went to the restroom. I went into a stall. And I came out. As I was leaving, I looked on the ground and I saw a guy's wallet. Well, I saw someone's wallet. I assumed it was a guy because I was in the guy's restroom. And I never know what to do in that spot because am I just supposed to leave it there and hope the guy comes back, or am I supposed to take it and try to find the guy? So anyways, I looked in it, and it was a really old guy's passport. His ID looked like he was about 90 years old. So I said, well, I should probably go try to find this guy because by the time he gets back, somebody may have already taken it or whatever. So I took it out, and then as I was leaving, probably about 100 yards from the bathroom, I saw a little old guy running the opposite direction, but it didn't look like the guy in the picture. The guy in the picture, the guy I saw running was wearing a hat and sunglasses. The guy I saw in the photo of his ID obviously was not wearing a hat and sunglasses. But anyways, I called out the guy's name. His name was Joseph, and he said, "Oh, it's me." And then I gave him his wallet, and he was very happy. So that was nice. While I was leaving the terminal to get my bag, someone actually came up to me and said that they follow me on Twitter. He said that he saw that I got delayed, or because I forgot my passport the day before, So he thought it was kind of cool that he ran into me randomly at the airport. He was not here to play the tournament. He was just here on vacation. He was going on a cruise. So that was kind of cool that someone who followed me on Twitter found me randomly in the Barcelona airport. Okay, so on my first day here, I was set to play a 1,000 euro event. I actually landed at something like 9 a.m. and I knew my tournament started at noon. So everything worked out great. I got in my apartment on time. I got in my tournament, and then I got absolutely demolished. This first tournament was a 1,000 euro Estrellas, which I'm told stands for stars, which makes sense because it's a Poker Stars tournament. I believe a lot of people satellited through PokerStars.es, which is Spain's PokerStars site, and the tournament is known to be incredibly soft. Well, I made the nut load twice in the first few hands whenever I had straight flush draws and they missed. And, I decided to bluff, and both times it failed. Once the guy called me with ace high, and once the guy called me with middle pair. He had something like pocket eights on a 9, 6, 5, 4, 2 board or something like that. So, anyways, no one believes me. I figured that out really fast. And that left me with half my starting stack, because they started very deep stacked in that tournament for whatever reason. And then I made 3 of a kind. I had 8-7 on 7-7-6. The turn was a 5. 7-7-6-5. I bet the flop a guy called. Turn was a 5. I bet the guy called. River was a 2. I shoved for, not too much. And he called off. And when he snap called, I was like, oh, this is not good. He snap called pretty quick, and he had the straight. So I was out of that in about 20 minutes, which was a very quick exit for a super deep stacked event. The next day was an 800 euro satellite to the main event. I actually didn't recognize this, but I thought that Estrellas thing was multiple re-entries, like pretty much all tournaments have seemed to devolve into. Alan Kessler's ranting about that on Twitter and Facebook right now, and I think he's pretty much right about that, about how we don't need to be allowing the pros to rebuy in 10 times, letting them buy in halfway through the tournament and all that type of stuff. Anyways, that's another topic. Anyways, the satellite was the exact opposite of the 1,000 euro tournament the day before. This one I won all of my flips and won all of my hands, and I crushed everyone every hand I played, and I ended up winning a seat fairly easily, which is always nice. It is hot in here. Didn't realize it was so hot in Spain. It was actually kind of funny. On the bubble, a guy shoved for 4 big blinds from the button, and I had ace-10 offsuit in the big blind, and this guy had been pretty tight. I had something like 20 big blinds, so if I called and lost, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. So I called, and he had pocket kings, and the flop came ace-king-8, and the guy looked so unhappy. He's like, oh my god, I can't believe you hit the ace. He did not realize he hit the king, which is kind of interesting. The turn was an 8, and at that point he realized, oh, I have kings full. This is good. So then he was all of a sudden super happy. So it was ace-king, 8-8. Then on the river, another ace came, giving me the top full house. And then he was absolutely devastated. It was kind of funny. So yeah, I got my seat to the main event. That's always cool when that happens, because it doesn't feel so bad when you bust the main event a few days later. The next day was a 2,000 euro pot limit Omaha no limit hold'em tournament. And in that event, nothing really happened for the first few hours, or for the first hour or so. It was 15-minute levels, so the blinds went up really quick. Eventually, I had king-king 6-2 with a suit in pot limit Omaha. Someone raised who was opening to 3x. I think he was one of the weaker guys at the table. I made it, so he made it 3,000. I made it 9,000 with 14,000 behind. So I was going to be all in on most flops besides ace-XX flops. It came jack 8-3 with 2 diamonds. I had no diamonds. And the opponent instantly went all in. So that's something that you see a lot in PLO, where whenever a guy leads into you in that scenario, he quite often has a hand that he does not want to check call off with, which usually means he has something like 1 pair, or it means he has a draw. And you're never happy to call off with kings in that spot, because even if he has a draw or 1 pair, it's not like we're in very good shape at all. We're probably near flipping. But getting pot odds, I think I need to call there. So I did call, and he had ace-queen 4-2 or something like that. Ace-queen 4-2. So he had the nut flush draw, he had ace-2 of diamonds, and then queen 4 of nothing, and he ended up making the flush, so I was out of that. Let's see. I just screwed up my iPhone. I pasted something funnily. Okay, next day was the 2200 Estrellas High Roller. which somehow got something like 900 people. I actually final tabled this event last year when it had something like 700 people. I think I took 7th place or something like, what was it? Maybe 30,000 euros. I don't remember what it was. But anyways, that 900 people is a ton for a 2,000 euro event. That is like the size of a World Series of Poker event. They're doing a really good job of getting a lot of people to come out here to very, very hot Barcelona. I'm trying to remember how I even busted that tournament. I have this issue where I don't really even remember what happens after I lose a tournament. I sort of just forget it. Maybe that's a good thing. It lets me sleep easy at night. I'm pretty sure I just lost a flip. I don't think there's much to it. Yeah, I don't remember. Sorry. So yeah, I busted. And I actually came home and fell asleep at something like 7 p.m., which whenever I come to Europe, I'm so far off my sleep schedule, it is absolutely brutal. Today was the 5,000 euro tournament. Like I said, I did well early in the day. And then I remembered that I was going to be posting a new weekly poker hand podcast today. And I have the website set up to where it automatically posts some post. Like this one, I'm going to have to post myself. But the weekly poker hand, it's set to post automatically on Thursdays. I recorded one ahead of time so that I could post it at the proper time. Anyways, I got on there and I realized, oh, I made a pretty big error in this post. So I spent something like 10 or 15 minutes trying to figure out how to log in on my iPad, edit the post, fix it, and then post it on Twitter. And luckily, it all went off pretty nicely. So that was good. I eventually got up to about 60,000 chips from a 30,000 stack, which was great. And then I raised with Ace King. And then Eugene Catchclaw on my left, I made it 1,000. He made it 2,500. He had not really messed around with me all day, which was sort of weird because in the past, I remember he was much more laggy, I guess. But today he was relatively tight aggressive. I don't think he did anything too incredibly out of line against me. Maybe that's just because the table was soft in general. Like, I was not the soft spot, and not that I'm ever really the soft spot, but whenever you're at a table with a bunch of, or at least some really weak guys, you really want to play hands with them, and I think that's what Eugene was doing, which is smart. That's what I was doing. I wasn't trying to play hands with him either. But anyways, I made it 1,000, he made it 2,500 out of his 20,000, or like 22,000 chip stack, and I had Ace King out of position. I was in the cutoff, he was on the button. I didn't really think I should call. I didn't think I should 4-bet small. I didn't think he'd really spaz out too often. So I decided to shove to possibly make him fold stuff like pocket 10s and 9s. And I don't ever think he's folding the big pairs, but I thought he may fold out some of the worst flips. So I shoved, and he called pretty quickly with queens, and I lost, sending me right back to the starting stack. And then from there, not a whole lot happened. I was against one guy a decent amount of the time. It was this kid who kept 3-betting me and 4-betting me every time I put a chip in the pot. And I just kept shoving on him or 4-betting or whatever I needed to do to put in the last bet. And I probably stole something like 15,000 chips off this kid in the last 2 or 3 orbits because he just kept applying pressure. He did not refuse to slow down, or he refused to slow down. So it's sort of interesting that at this table I had some people who were not playing back at me at all, and I had some guys who were just going bonkers against me. And it's really important to figure out what your opponents are doing. And I mean, if I was just playing that table blind, I probably would have folded quite a few of the hands I reshoved on that kid with. And I would have been much happier getting it in against Eugene with the Ace King. But with the Ace King against Eugene, I was kind of sick about getting it in. But I mean, Ace King's just too good to fold. And against the kid, I would have certainly folded. Like I had Ace 9 one time, and I had pocket 3s one time. And I was just blasting my chips and no problem against him. So it's very important to recognize who you're playing against. I mean, even in the highest stakes tournaments, there are going to be guys, particularly the overly aggressive guys in Europe, who you can really exploit by recognizing they're going to be applying pressure and then getting after it against them. So that's it. That's where I'm at. I'm 5 days into this trip. Tomorrow is a 2,000 euro turbo tournament, and then the next day is day 2. So if you like this, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. Please leave comments. Let me know if there's anything else you would like me to expand on, or if you guys have any questions in general. So thank you very much for watching.